Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Hump Day, everyone. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. A big pre-market bump here with core CPI and CPI data being released, in addition to retail sales. CPI coming in about as expected and a bit cooler on the month-over-month number here, and we're seeing a big explosive move to the upside initially. Very tiny overnight range prior to the release of the number, and then a big explosive move right up to the previous quarter's close. So already seeing a big move here after the failed new low developed yesterday and the outside day developed heading into the end of the session. So we got an outside day up yesterday and an upside continuation here today. The idea here initially heading into Tuesday's market was if we can get a shakeout leg here, perhaps that could be enough for a buy the dip that takes us to new highs. Once you get up to new highs, though, there could be an opportunity to fade it right back within the range. Right back down within the range, as this range is developing a very large, perhaps rectangular trading range right now. And at the moment, we're seeing a squeeze up within the range. Very bullish right now. Now, can the markets hold on to these gains, or do we start to see some sort of tail develop at these highs? That's going to be something to keep an eye on. But as of right now, very strong with an upward momentum at the moment. And we could see a bit more upside that takes us again toward the previous quarter's high. Taking a look here at the NQ, similar price action here for the NQ. The previous session, this one had an outside day as well. We talked about the failed new low developing against two-day lows and how we could see a breakout through two-day highs that takes us into an outside day up. We got that continuation here today as well with the pre-market data. Big time push to the upside. Again, can the market hang on to these gains? That's going to be something to keep an eye on. Ever since the FOMC key level on May 1st, we've seen this thing rally tremendously, and we've now hit the top of the key range. We have this key range high right here, and that's the 18,518.75s. We got there here this morning just now. And again, kind of like the ES here, we were looking for a bit of an upward flow here. We were looking for a failed new low or a shakeout leg that could get us higher yet again. We've gotten that move. Now what happens once we've kind of caught the car here? You know, once we've gotten up here and reach these recent highs, do we start to fall back into the range? Do we backfill some amount? And again, can the market hang on to these early pre-market gains, or do we start to backfill into, say, 18,450 and 18,400? Do we start to throw off a tail at these highs? Something to keep an eye on now that we've kind of fulfilled some of these upside targets. We take a look here at crude oil. Crude, this one is about flat at the moment. It is now developing a 10-day narrow range after the recent sell-off here, and ever since the release of the FOMC key level, we've seen this market go mostly sideways in a 10-day narrow range. We can update this right here to be 10 days right there, and we can see exactly what this range looks like at the moment. Just $3.07 of range. And you know, again, that's for a full 2 weeks trading right there. 10 full trading sessions. Well, I guess not full. This one still needs time to develop. But unless this market breaks this low or breaks this high today, you know, the $3.07 is still in, and we could trade anywhere in here and still be a narrow 10-day narrow range. This range suggests that we have somewhere between 6 and 8 points of breakout movement that's likely ahead. So we'll continue to watch this very closely. Can price push through 80 again and open up some upside, or is 80 resistance here in a downtrending market? Any pullback into 80 could still be sold, and perhaps we see a continuation down toward the mid to low 70s. So a lot of energy here for crude oil, still stuck in the range. Perhaps we get a little bit of a bounce here, but for the most part, overhead resistance has been in play, and the bears have continued to control this current trend. Looking at gold futures here, let's pop up gold futures. Gold right now up about 0.6% here. This one had a pretty big little pop here, but is already kind of pulled back from the recent highs. For the most part, this thing is modestly trending up, but kind of mostly sideways here. We continue to see this thing honor the 2280 key level. That area of support has been pretty significant here so far. It hasn't really wanted to go back below that zone, but we also have maintained kind of a sideways stance with a modest upward bias here. So overall, this market continues to work its way quietly higher. At some point, we could see this thing really rip for a bigger move, but right now, still kind of stuck in the range. We could see a little bit more back and forth here around that 2350 level. And an impulse move and a new key range has developed on the intraday chart. Keep an eye on that range here for today's action. 2386 on the high and 2362s on the lows. That basically gives us a new impulse move here for today. Taking a look at the YM. The YM with a big push to the upside as well. A strong move right away. And if we drop this back to a 1 day here, you'll notice there's not a ton of range here. 243 points of range, 68% of ADR. This one's still working its way up as well. The previous session, this was the only one. You had the ES, NQ, and RTY all going outside day up after a failed new low. This one had a bit more to go to get that outside day, but did close through the mid, which suggests new highs for today's session, and we've gotten those new highs. Will price continue to work its way higher toward 40,000 and perhaps a little bit higher? Perhaps that could be in play, but again, once we do reach those levels, it wouldn't be surprising if we start to turn back down into the larger trading range. So again, this uptrend has been quite bullish here, but do we start to develop a bit of a short-term top, or perhaps even a medium-term top that turns price back down within the larger range? Taking a look lastly at Bitcoin. Bitcoin here up 3.4% today. I mentioned before that this one is developing quite a bit of energy within this larger compression here. If you look at some of the Bitcoin related stocks, you see very similar compression as well. There's about 10,000 points of range, potential breakout movement that is building within this range right now. It's been up a day, down a day. That's when you have price go down 1 day, up 1 day, down 1 day, up, down. Today's up, and it's just kind of building at the apex of this range. Can we get a breakout at some point here sooner than later? I mentioned before, if we can break strongly through 64, we might get a 10,000 point move that takes us back to recent highs at 74K. A failure needs to occur through 60. If it occurs through 60, we could be looking at a drop that takes us as deep as 50K. Overall, this market is maintaining a very clear range at these highs, maintaining market structure above 60 for the most part, 60K, but we're building a very clear compression here that could break out sooner than later. Keep an eye on this range. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops here heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.